I'm Charles. I'm the product developer at the home of the OxyGreen Blaster and Bedbug Destruct system, and I journeyed all the way down to war-torn Moore, Oklahoma, where the tornado went through 2 days ago, and I'm here with our one of our best system owners and one of the biggest in the area. His name is Mike LaPlante from Bug Zappers, and we did this interview before on Skype, and we had a few people that didn't really like the way that the video quality came out, so we decided to come straight to the horse's mouth and let Mike tell you how he's been using our system for the last year and a half.
About a year and 5 months now, yeah.
Yeah. And so, Mike, you used to be a big heat guy in Oklahoma. Matter of fact, you said you were the biggest in Oklahoma.
That's correct. I did heat for years, and probably one of the pioneers of the heat treatment in Oklahoma. Because at the time, all the other companies were using, the spray chemicals. So.
And now tell me a little bit about your business. What type of treatments do you focus on? What's the pest market like here in Oklahoma?
Our biggest thing is obviously the German cockroach, but bed bugs are coming up hot and heavy. Seasonal, of course, are your termites. Our pests are pretty standard pest here. We don't have what the southeast has, but basically just cockroaches, your typical ants, termites, and then of course the bed bug business is booming.
And how long have you been a PCO?
We're in our 7th year.
7th year of business.
Yep.
And I noticed a lot of trucks here. You're not a small time operator.
I've got 5 vehicles right now and growing. So
awesome. Now, do you get a lot of migrant oil guys that come through here that are bringing the bed bugs in, or?
Not really. That's not what we're seeing. We're just seeing your average Joes getting these guys, and it's possible they're eating in the same places because we do have a large turnover of oil production people come through this state, and I'm sure that eating at McDonald's on I-40 has probably yielded some people.
I got it.
And any restaurant, any retail store is a potential place to pick up these friendly fellas.
And now, so are there any special types of treatment that you focus on, or would you say bed bugs are the type of treatment you focus on?
Bed bugs, I try to specialize in a couple of different things, and one of them is honeybees, and the other one is bed bugs. And it's two things that I think that society doesn't really understand. And the bees, everyone wants to just kill bees. They don't understand how important bees are to our ecological system. And then, of course, the other one is bed bugs, and that's because people, including PCOs, are still learning every day on what bed bugs are and what they do. There's still people out there that believe that they're a myth, and when they get them, all of a sudden they're like, wow, I didn't realize these guys were real. So.
And now, how long has it been that you've been focusing on the bed bug part of your business?
The last 6 years.
For 6 years. Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I know you used the heat systems. Didn't you tell me you started with steam originally?
I did. I had steamers out here, and we used the typical chemical treatments combined with steam. The problem with steam is if you put yourself in their shoes, would you sit around while somebody held steam iron to you, or would you take off running? And that's the problem, because to be effective with steam, you actually have to hit the bug for probably a good 20-30 seconds before you scald it to death. Yes.
And I think you told me the first time you took your steam gun out, you hit the bug and it went flying across the room.
That's right. You got to put a sock or some kind of cloth over it, because steam is pressure, and when you reach over and open that steam valve, it releases that pressure and it'll blow the bed bug clear across the room. So, absolutely.
So to be effective with steam, you really got to be labor intensive.
That's correct.
And that's why you moved to heat?
Time consuming, very time consuming, because you got to figure you're taking a steam tip and you're treating maybe a square inch or two at a time, because you're treating this mattress. Then you got to tear it apart, treat the box spring, treat the couches, treat all that stuff. So very, very labor intensive. So then we went to the heat box. The heat box is a great idea, and I learned that from the University of Florida. and their entomologist down there, great system, and I believe in that. So we would get the 4x8 sheets of styrofoam, build a box, put the bed bug infested stuff in that box, and then treat that stuff. Well, it didn't take me long before I realized, one, the humidity that built up inside of that styrofoam box, because the duct tape that we would tape this together with would start sweating. But the biggest thing is that also the bed bugs were everywhere else in these places, not just in the furniture. So I then escalated to my next phase of, well, I can make the entire room that styrofoam box. And so we started heating these homes up by the room. Once again, very effective treatment. No regrets on using heat, but the lesson learned was the moisture that I was creating through the condensation. And then I got into where I bought enough heaters to where I could heat up an entire structure. I could heat up a 2,000 square foot house pretty effortless. The downside is, once again, very labor intensive, because while you're taking this up to the 130, 140 degrees, I'm literally in that heat inspecting everything. I'm turning every towel over. I'm turning all their clothes over. I'm literally going through every article that they own to ensure that these bed bugs haven't found a cool spot to survive in. And that's the unique thing about a bed bug, is when they feel that heat, they run away from it. And we would basically vortex the room and get them running to the middle, and I would have a bunch of bed bugs in the middle of the room, because that's the last spot to get hot. But once again, the moisture was my concern, and before I even came across your system, I was concerned about the potential of mold or damaging furniture through the moisture that I was putting into the room.
Well, what kind of a learning curve was there for you to learn to do the heat system without hurting the stuff? I know there's a lot of sawdust and glue and sticker furniture and a lot of mass-produced goods that aren't really designed to take that kind of heat. Have you had any problems with that at the beginning when you were learning how to do it?
Well, there's two incidents. One, I only had a door warp on me, so I'm very fortunate I didn't have any furniture delaminate. But I did one day, trying to heat up a very poorly insulated room in a nursing home. I went ahead and added a jolt of heat with one of my turbo heaters, and I set off the fire system. And so, needless to say, I went ahead and flooded part of the wing of this nursing home. So I didn't make any money that day. But anyway, that was one of the biggest things that made me realize that I had to find a plan B to the heat. Heat works great. I'm not going to badmouth it, but I just found that there were a lot of issues involved with heat that I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way.
Well, and that's something I really want to bring up, because you were one of the best proponents of heat, that I'd really met when I first started talking to you. I'd talked to several guys that used heat systems and were not as effective as you were. And I really liked the ideas you had about putting the heat on the outside and then forcing the bugs to the center of the room. But when you called me the first time, I seem to recall the reason you called was you're looking for less labor. I think you told me that your longest job was 20 hours, 21 hours or something?
Yep. At that time that I talked to you, my longest job, my son got in a motorcycle wreck, and he was part of my company at that time, and he was out of commission. He survived, but he was extremely disabled and injured. So I became the only one at Bug Zappers doing three people's jobs. And literally I treated some apartments in Tulsa, got over to this one unit that I was going to treat for bed bugs at 8 o'clock in the morning, set up all my heaters, started those off, went and treated 3 apartment complexes, came back. I had not attained the heat that I needed. In doing my inspections, very cluttered apartment, and I never left these places until I confirmed no living bed bugs. And this place was really infested, so I stayed in my truck. I probably slept about 20 minutes that night, and at 8:30 the next morning, I finally saw no more living bugs in there. and it wasn't due to the heat not working, it was due to the poor insulation of the building that wasn't allowing the heat to generate in there. It was escaping as quick as I was putting it in. So anyway, I got done with that, and then I drove back to Oklahoma City, and I spent yet another 12 hours treating apartment complexes. I sprayed my last apartment at 9 o'clock that night, so I'd literally gone about 30 plus hours without any sleep, in excessive heat during that bed bug treatment. It was during the summer, it was hot to boot. I was extremely fatigued, and it was a couple of days later when I ran across this article on the O3 system.
So that's how it was. You were really at the end of your heat rope. You were baked.
I was baked. I was baked.
So that was what I remembered. Is you said is this real? Could you really do a job in 6 or 8 hours? And I said, well, that's what my guys are doing. And you were just after our original first round of beta tests with the pest control operators when you came into the system. And so what I was pleased to learn is after you bought your system, you ended up buying a second system. And you've done hundreds of jobs, correct?
Yes.
And you said you only had a problem with a learning curve in the very first job. And you called me up, we went over this protocol. And then you've done some experimentation with our system, playing with using regular standard chemicals versus our non-toxic chemicals and a variety of different things. You want to share any of that with some of the guys out there? Because that's one of the things I think that pest control operators, they see my ads about green bed bug removal, and they think that our system's incompatible with other approaches. And in fact, it can be integrated with a variety of pest control solutions.
I don't market this system as a green system. If people ask me if I can do a green treatment, my answer is yes. But I do not go out and market the green system. My knowledge of natural pest control products is that there's no residual to them, they have a short lifespan, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't market it as that. What I market it is as an effective bed bug treatment. If they say we want green, then we go out and we do the green treatment, and it has been effective. What we typically do when we go in and we do a treatment is we treat the perimeter of the area, normally the whole house, but whatever rooms possible with a chemical. And my rationale behind that is the bed bug is basically impenetrable except the underneath. So my rationale is when they crawl through this carpet, they're liable to get some of this chemical on their belly. So that's why I saturate a good 6 or 8 inches of the carpet. Then after we do that, we set up the system and we start the CO2 generators. Once we get the CO2 generators out, we're setting the rest of the system. Then we turn on the system. Once we get the system turned on, then we go around and we dust the perimeter. Now, what I have done in all of these treatments is I basically created a barrier to trap the bed bugs in that zone, and they can't escape that zone without getting hit with something. So if they do run away from the O3, they're still going to go through the chemical, and they're going to go through the dust. Bed bugs, dust is very effective towards bed bugs. We all know that. Then after I generate the O3 for several hours, and that depends on the size and the space, but typically on average 6 to 8 hours. Then we fog. We follow up with the fog. I've used both the natural fog, and I've also used other fogs, and both are very effective. So I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying if I don't sell it as green, I go in and I use a different chemical just because it's labeled to destroy bed bugs. If I can get that in their lungs on top of the O3, I think we've got a double hammered effect, and they're not going to survive. The hundreds, and when I say hundreds, I'm just going to throw a silly number. I'll be conservative and say I've only done 200 treatments. And out of those, I've had 3 callbacks. So to me, I think a 99.9 whatever percent effectiveness rate is pretty darn good. The heat, I can honestly say, done correctly, I had about the same results on it. So I can't say one's better than the other or one's worse than the other, but what I can say, labor intensive wise, the O3 system is a winner hands down.
And that's really, one of the greatest things I think about the system is I set it up so that you didn't have to spend all your time walking into a 130-degree room and getting roasted and flipping stuff over. Now, some of my guys do go in at least once during the treatment and they move some of the bigger items, but that's about it. Once during the treatment and then they're finishing up with just gas, and the rest of the day is theirs to go out and do their service calls and whatever else they're going to do. And at the end of the day, whether you're using my green bed bug solution or whether you're using your standard products, what the ozone does is it still kills all the viruses, all the bacteria, all the mold spores. It destroys all the odors in this place. And when the people come back after the O3 is aired out, they've got a virtually sterile apartment. And it does improve the breathing of the people that live there. If you've got the HVAC system on, you've now killed the contaminants in the HVAC system, and hands down, it does provide a superior result. Even if the heat is effective, it doesn't give you the added residual benefits that come from using ozone gas. Now, and I know you've done a little bit of work with odor removal. I think you've told me you've done some odor removal work. And have you done any sanitizing stuff at all yet?
I have not. The unique thing about this system is once I got it, I put one of the systems in my pickup truck and I drove it around and was showing people, here's the new thing, and I explained to them about the odor removal and so forth. Well, literally, I had an apartment manager. We went out to lunch, and she got a phone call, and they had just found one of their deceased tenants. And we went back to this complex, and the paramedics were there, and they removed the deceased, and there was quite the odor, probably 3 or 4 days laying in there. And she said, so you said this thing does odor removal? And I said, you betcha. And at that time, I'd probably used this system none. And so I went in there and I put it in there and let it run for about 3 hours. And very effectively, it took that smell out very, very quickly. So.
And that is just another aspect. There are multiple ways that you can apply the same technology to generating multiple streams of income or revenue for your business. And off camera, Mike, you said to me today, before you get out of here, Charlie, I'd like you to go over your mold removal system. And that really is, in most states, for pest control operators, another source of unclaimed funds. It's money that's laying around waiting to be taken, and if you don't take it, one of your competitors or someone from a completely different industry is going to do that for you. And one of the things that has been a backbone of our mold removal system is a product that most pest control operators are absolutely familiar with and have used and do use day in and day out, and that's the borates. From Nikon, and the Timbor product line is an amazing product line for the wood boring beetles and the carpenter ants and the termites, but it also is an amazing product line for treating structures and making the wood boring beetle, carpenter ant, termite, and fungus proof. And even basic Timbor is labeled for all decay and dry rot fungi, which includes all the molds. And we have used that on crawl spaces and attics for many, many, many years. So you already have the majority of the equipment in your arsenal, in your back shop, on the back of your truck with your $2,000 spray rig. You've already got training and are familiar with how to use the borates. With just a little bit more certification and the same ozone equipment, you can start padding your bank with jobs that will make bedbug profits seem small. And let's face it, folks, Mike got into bedbugs 6 years ago, and it might be because he really is an awesome pest control operator and wants to be the very best, and I know that's true about you. But it's also because bedbugs are the first real, besides termite, big chunk of money maker in the pest control world. So the reason why guys all over the country are going bonkers over bedbugs isn't the bugs. I mean, bedbugs are just like any other bug. If you get the gear on their back, they're going to die. The problem is they're just better hiders than most bugs. Well, that's not what's special about the bedbug. What's special about the bedbug is it's a way for the average pest control operator to make an above average revenue stream. And treating mold, doing odor removal, doing sanitizing services with this same core equipment, these can all be other ways to make money in chunks for your business. So, the backbone of every pest control business is the contract work that you get that keeps your lights on. But the cream comes from money in chunks. And that's what our equipment will let you do. So, I don't know, you said you've done a couple hundred jobs. You've owned the system for a year and a half. And before you bought it, were you skeptical that it would work?
Absolutely. I actually read that article, researched O3, printed off umpteen different things, your reports. When you're spending that kind of money as a business owner, it's not something you just write a check and hope for the best. It's something that you definitely want to research and ensure that it's an investment and not a blunder.
Yeah.
And so I was extremely skeptical on that. Nothing I found in the research said anything about the bed bugs and eliminating bed bugs. But one of the unique things about your system is also your system is an extremely higher generator versus the other O3 systems out there. Your generators put out way more ozone than these other generators out there do.
Very true, very true. And that's one of the problems when a lot of pest control operators first start looking at the technology. When I started this system and when I filed my patents for, this is a patented process with patented equipment. And one of the things that I couldn't find any independent studies that had been done. I found some studies that had been done on killing bed bugs in situ or in the field, but they weren't done by independent labs or big universities. Well, just last May that all changed when Purdue University published their landmark study on ozone and the bed bug. And they basically proved what I've been telling people for the last several years, and my customers have been proving to themselves in the field, that really high concentrations of ozone for really short durations will absolutely eradicate infestations. And that's the one thing that I didn't ask for and couldn't have paid for that's really come out in our support. And you mentioned the other ozone systems. There's this amazing company out there that's one of the best educators in the field named Bedbug University, and most of you folks have probably heard of them. And their entomologist had done a little video on their Bedbug TV, sort of not smearing ozone, but letting them know that they thought that the evidence or the research was still out. They were waiting for better information. And they had tried utilizing some ozone generators. Well, folks, the key to this is generating massive amounts of ozone gas. Ridiculously high concentrations. You want to make the air visibly blue where you can see the gas. You've got to get it up to 100 parts per million, and just any old ozone equipment will not do that. Generators that are similar to the ones that we generate that are used in the commercial food processing industry can cost tens, even $15,000 for the kind of gram outputs that we're generating from our little in-the-field machines. And the other key is our pressurizing equipment. And folks, those two things combined have allowed our system to literally walk away, hands down, as the only one out there capable of doing it. And in fact, if someone else is using ozone in an attempt to eradicate bed bugs, they're violating my patents, which is even better for us. But, you've dealt with a lot of calls from my customers. I know over the last year and a half, wondering how it would work. What would you tell people that are looking at this video that are really considering investing in their business? Because I know there are a ton of small guy pest control operators that are losing money every day to the big outfits that have invested in the $120,000 heat systems. What would you tell them about investing in our equipment?
I would say it's a no-brainer. Speaking from experience now, and I know it's tough to take that plunge, but I have been the experience out there. It does work. The first time I used it, it failed miserably. Let me rephrase that. Not miserably, but it failed. And it failed miserably in my mind because it failed. So I went back and retreated, and I got them. Well, what I had realized is just equipment positioning and treatment of furniture. Because the one thing that I've found in my years of doing this, bed bugs don't exist in the beds only. They exist everywhere in that structure. You know, people ask me, well, then why are they called bed bugs? And I think back when the bed bug got its name, we didn't have TV, we didn't have video games, so people slept during the dark hours and they were awake during the light hours. So bed bugs, people were in their beds more than they weren't. And I think that's where bed bugs started at, just in my opinion. However, today we don't just reside in our beds. We're probably in our beds the least amount of time in our day. So bed bugs now go where opportunity is. And they say that bed bugs feed 3 to 5 a.m. If you're on the couch every night at 8 o'clock, and that's their only opportunity, they're going to feed on you at 8 o'clock at night. So I think what happened with my first treatment was just not treating the furniture properly. As far as my other experiences, once I realized to treat the furniture, I have found nothing that I can discredit this treatment or system with. It's been very successful. This system has made me lots of profit, and I don't gouge at all. I'm not one of those guys, but I am somebody that gives you a valued product at a very marketable price and something that's going to return my investment. The only regret I have with this system is I didn't buy it sooner, and I don't own enough, because when the bed bug calls come in, they all come in at once. And I have had to go out and treat apartment units that 6 or 8 units are infested, and I've only really got enough equipment to treat about 2.5 units at a time. So what I've done in the past, last May comes to mind, I had all my heaters going, I had all my O3 equipment going, and cussing pretty much the whole day because I didn't buy more O3 equipment. Because the heat obviously took a lot longer. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you're indecisive, if you're on the fence about this thing, go ahead and jump off the fence. It saves you money, and it saves you money by saving you time. And as we know, time is money. I'm telling you, the competitors are still out there doing the $250, $300 treatments, but they'll only have to come back 5 or 6 times. And the beauty is that I can go in there for about the same price of the 5 or 6 visits, and I'm getting them in one. And to me, that is a huge sell point, because you can now go out and sell the fact that you're only disrupting these occupants one time versus the 5 or 6 times before they finally just skip out on this apartment and leave all that infested furniture behind for the maintenance guys to drag out. So I mean, go out there, take the plunge. I'm sure you won't regret it.
And now you have figured out, for the furniture, you just take one of our toolbox machines and you run the hose right up the arse end of the furniture and blow the gas from the inside of the couch out, or the inside of that recliner out, and you're now getting efficacy from the gas on the furniture too.
I am. And I follow that up with dusting or fogging inside the furniture. But the thing is you've got to get the bug exposed to the O3. For those of you who don't understand the O3, that third molecule is a corrosive, and it injures the bug. And you can literally see them doing the dance what I like to call it, where they run around in circles and they're dazed and confused when they're starting to get injured. So I've seen that, and once again, I'm a big believer in the effectiveness of this, and the proof's in the pudding. Call back, three callbacks and 200 treatments. So.
Well, Mike, I thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day today. And if there's anyone else that has any questions, just don't hesitate to call Charlie. And if we need to put you in touch with guys like Mike or some of our other guys, we do have the ability. And Mike is even willing, for the right price, to let guys come here, train on site with his crews. Or if the money's really right, he may even come to you. He has agreed to be our go-to nationwide system trainer. So if you're on the fence and training is what's holding you back, it's available. Your crews can come here and shadow Mike's guys, and for the right price, of course. And it will literally transform your business and your life. So thanks so much for watching again. Have a blessed day.